Few people understand the depth of what I am about to reveal. But if you made it here, it wasn't by chance. There is an invisible intelligence that governs everything you see, touch, and feel. Some call it God, others the universe, and some call it quantum consciousness. Call it whatever you want. The truth is simple yet powerful. This force can, and wants to, give you absolutely everything you desire. But there is one condition. You must be willing to listen until the very end, because missing even a single piece of this puzzle could condemn you to repeat the same mistakes forever, never experiencing the life you truly deserve. And before we go further, subscribe to this channel right now. If you are searching for deeper answers, if you feel you were not born to live an ordinary life, then this space was made for you. Now let's get to what really matters. Chapter 1. The Universe's Promise. What most people don't realize is that the universe is not neutral, cold, or indifferent. It is not simply out there, separate from you. Modern physics has already proven absolute emptiness does not exist. What looks like nothing is, in fact, an invisible, vibrant field filled with energy and information. Amit Goswami calls this field quantum consciousness. Greg Braden named it the divine matrix. Joe Dispenza describes it as the unified field of intelligence. Different names, but all pointing to the same reality. There is a living web connecting every atom, every star, and every thought. And this web doesn't just exist. It responds. It responds to you. It doesn't matter if you believe in it or not, if you understand it or not. Every thought you hold, every emotion you feed, every intention you project, all of it sends a frequency into this field. And the field always returns it, always. So the inevitable question arises, if the universe promises everything, why do most people live in scarcity, lack, and endless cycles of suffering? The answer is both unsettling and liberating. Because the field is a mirror. It does not judge, it does not decide, it only reflects. If you vibrate fear, it returns circumstances that confirm fear. If you vibrate scarcity, it sends back experiences that prove lack. If you vibrate doubt, it reflects uncertainty. The universe does not fail. It only confirms what you already are. This is the promise. Everything you become, you will inevitably receive. No exceptions. There is a blind spot that keeps billions of people trapped. And perhaps it's the very same thing still holding you back, even unconsciously. The greatest mistake people make is believing that reality happens outside of them. They look at the world, observe their circumstances, and conclude, this is what I have, this is what I am, this is what I deserve. This is the addiction of the majority, living in reaction, reacting to the bank account, reacting to the news, reacting to other people's opinions, reacting to their own limitations. But here lies the trap. When you live in reaction, you hand over to the external world the power to dictate your vibration. And if your vibration is dictated by what you see, you will never break free from the cycle. Science has already proven, your mind does not distinguish between reality and imagination. When you relive a trauma from the past or anticipate a fear of the future, your brain fires the same chemical signals as when the event truly happened. This means that even when nothing is happening outside, you are already sending into the quantum field a frequency of pain, scarcity, and failure. This is the greatest mistake. Waiting for the external to change so that you can finally change within. It's like staring into a mirror and expecting the reflection to smile first. Those who understand this key discover something revolutionary. You don't react to life, you anticipate it. The external does not define your internal state. The internal writes the next chapter of the external. And here is the shock. 80% of humanity lives enslaved by this mistake. Only a small awakened minority realizes that life doesn't respond to what you superficially wish for. It responds to what you relentlessly vibrate. If there is a universal language that connects you to the invisible field, that language is not spoken with words. It is vibrated. It is felt. It is frequency. Every thought generates an electrical wave. Every emotion generates a magnetic wave. When they unite, they form an electromagnetic field that surrounds you and expands beyond your body. Physics calls this bioelectromagnetism. Spirituality calls it the aura. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that this field is your access code to the universe. Joe Dispenza often says that thought is the electrical order that sends the intention, and emotion is the magnetic order that attracts the experience. Together, they create each person's unique energetic signature. That is why two people can desire the same thing, but only one receives. It's not desire that creates. It's the frequency sustained. And here lies a revelation few are willing to accept. You don't attract what you wish for. You attract what you are. If your mind is projecting wealth, but your heart vibrates fear, the resulting frequency is confused, contradictory, and the quantum field responds in the same measure. It's like tuning into the wrong radio station and then complaining that you can't hear the song you wanted. Science has already mapped this. Experiments in quantum physics labs show that subatomic particles do not behave like fixed things, but as waves of probability. And what collapses that wave into observable reality is precisely the interaction, the gaze, the attention, the energy applied. In other words, the frequency you sustain determines which version of reality manifests before you. And here is the key. 95% of people live on autopilot, repeating the same thoughts and emotions every single day. Consequently, they reproduce the same frequency. It's like waking up every day and tuning into the same TV channel. The result? The same reality. But those who learn to change their own frequency discover something that feels supernatural. Reality begins to reorganize itself around this new vibration. Coincidences appear. People show up. Doors open. Because the science of frequency does not fail. It only responds with precision to what you transmit. There is a silent secret that shapes your reality every single day, whatever you choose to sustain in your attention. The conscious mind is like a camera lens. Wherever you point that lens, reality becomes sharp. The rest remains out of focus. And here's the key. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between what you imagine and what you experience. It only records what you consistently repeat. This means your attention is, in practice, a command. Whatever you feed with focus becomes an instruction written into your inner system. Cell biologist Bruce Lipton explains that the subconscious is like a tape recorder. It doesn't judge, it doesn't analyze, it doesn't argue. It simply executes what was recorded. When you give your attention to something, you are recording that tape, and the subconscious will keep playing it until you decide to change the track. This is why most people never escape their own lives, because they keep paying attention to the same things. They observe the same problems, relive the same pains, repeat the same complaints, talk about the same limitations. Attention works like a beam of energy that strengthens exactly what you would like to eliminate. But those who awaken to this power discover a phenomenon that feels almost magical. By deliberately shifting focus, reality begins to reorganize. It's not coincidence, it's science. The quantum field responds to whatever you sustain as the center of perception. The power of attention is, therefore, the power to plant realities. In every moment, you are watering a seed with the energy of your focus, and that seed will inevitably grow. The question is, Are you watering what you desire or only strengthening what you fear? If you are still here, it is because something within you recognizes the truth in what has been said so far. You've already heard about promises, mistakes, frequency, and attention. But notice this: few people make it to this point. Most quit, skip ahead, or simply cannot bear to face the idea that reality lies in their own hands. The fact that you are still here means something. It means there is a deeper restlessness within you, an intuition that there is a hidden code in life, an invisible pattern that governs everything, and that it can be decoded. But pay close attention. From this point on, we are no longer in the territory of the obvious. We are no longer on the surface of knowledge. We are entering a dimension that few dare to explore. And that is why I need you to do one thing. Stay. Stay until the end. Because what comes next is not just an explanation. It is an invitation for you to become the conscious co-creator of your own reality. But here's the warning. If you miss even a single fragment, you may lose the entire key. Until now, you've understood that the universe responds like a mirror, reflecting not what you superficially wish for, but what you truly are in your vibrational essence. But the great question arises: how do you align yourself with your desire in a true, consistent, almost inevitable way? Here on this channel, we call it the Living Reality Formula. It's not just one isolated technique, but a sequence of 3 inner codes that, when applied together, bring your energy into resonance with what you want to manifest. The first code is the rhythm of quantum breathing. This is not simply about inhaling and exhaling. It's about using breath as a key to reprogram the emotional body. When you breathe consciously, you signal to the field that you are already in the state of the result, and the body begins to believe it. The second code is the imprint of the inner image. This is not the old visualization many repeat without results. It's deeper. It's about imprinting on the subconscious an inner experience so vivid, so detailed, that the brain cannot distinguish whether it happened or not. That image stops being imagination and becomes an anticipated memory. And the third code is the coherence of the unique frequency. This is when thought, emotion, and body come into perfect sync. Most people think one thing, feel another, and act in a completely different way. That creates noise, conflict, dispersion. But when you align mind, heart, and body, the unified field recognizes that frequency as truth and responds. Together, these 3 codes form the Living Reality Formula. And the reason most people cannot manifest is not a lack of desire, but a lack of alignment. Those who live out of sync create confusing realities. Those who apply the formula awaken to a new logic. The desire stops being future and begins to exist in the now. The universe doesn't shout, it whispers, and almost no one listens. Most people expect grand manifestations, sudden changes, instant miracles. But the quantum field rarely works that way. It moves through subtleties, delicate alignments, messages that look like coincidence to the inattentive but are clear codes of response to those who are awake. These signs can appear in many forms: a seemingly random conversation, a song that plays at the exact right moment, numbers that repeat insistently, dreams that feel more real than waking life, intuitions you cannot explain. The problem is that, conditioned by rational logic, many ignore these signs. And by ignoring them, they shut the door through which the universe was trying to communicate. Carl Jung called this phenomenon synchronicity, events with no apparent causal connection, but carrying deep meaning for the one experiencing them. Modern physics adds that, in a field of infinite possibilities, these encounters are not chance but reflections of the frequency you are sustaining. Here's what few understand: the universe is already responding, always. It does not delay. It does not forget. It does not fail. What happens is that its response comes coded in symbols, events, subtle impressions. And if you don't learn to decipher these codes, you go on believing nothing is happening, when in truth, manifestation has already begun. The hidden signs are like trails in a forest. They are not the final destination, but they point the way. The more attention you give them, the clearer they become, until reality itself reorganizes completely before your eyes. The universe does not deliver everything immediately, and this is not punishment, it is process. There is an interval between the emission of frequency and the materialization of reality. This interval is what many call time, but in truth, it is an invisible test of consistency. Most people fail exactly here. They begin the process, apply techniques, sustain the right vibration for a few days or weeks. But when immediate results don't appear, they begin to doubt. And by doubting, they weaken the field. It's like planting a seed and digging it up every day to check if it has sprouted. The soil did not fail. The seed did not fail. It was impatience that blocked the growth. The quantum field works in the same way. When you sustain an intention with unwavering faith, you send a stable, coherent, consistent signal. But when you alternate between certainty and doubt, trust and fear, the field receives contradictory signals, and reality mirrors that contradiction. Here's the truth. Few are willing to accept. Delay is not absence of response. It is refinement of your frequency. The universe observes whether you have truly become what you wish to receive. If your faith collapses at the first obstacle, it means your vibration is still fragile. This is the point where the strong separate from those who give up. Those who understand the test of faith do not despair in the silence of the universe. They interpret it as confirmation that the process is already in motion, because every true desire requires crossing this space between intention and manifestation. And it is precisely in this space that you prove who you really are. One of the most unsettling experiments in modern science is known as the double-slit experiment. In it, physicists discovered that subatomic particles, the foundation of all matter, do not behave as fixed things, but as waves of infinite possibilities. Until someone observes. At the very moment of observation, the wave collapses and becomes a particle. In other words, the simple act of observing creates reality. This phenomenon, known as the role of the observer, forever changed our understanding of the universe. If matter only organizes itself when observed, then every gaze, every focus, every expectation you hold directly participates in the process of creation. And this is where the technique of the quantum observer comes in, which we adapt here on this channel as a conscious practice. It is based on 3 steps. Choose the frame. Instead of observing what already exists, you learn to internally select the scene you want to see realized. It's like choosing a movie from the infinite catalog of the quantum field. Sustain the inner gaze. It's not enough to look once. You must sustain the inner observation until it becomes more real to you than the external scene. This is the point where the mind stops doubting. Release it to the field. After sustaining the scene internally, you let it go. You don't force, you don't control, you simply release. The unified field takes on the task of reorganizing external reality according to the gaze you sustained. This technique is not childish imagination. It is supported by decades of quantum experiments showing that consciousness is not merely a spectator, but a protagonist of creation. The mistake most people make is continuing to observe the same external scene: problems, debts, conflicts. By doing so, they reinforce the same version of reality. But those who learn to become conscious observers discover something extraordinary. External reality begins to bend to the inner gaze. If there is one invisible prison that keeps most people blocked, It can be summed up in a single word: how. How will I get that job? How will I attract the right person? How will I pay my bills? How can this happen if everything around me looks the opposite? This obsession with how is the root of frustration, because the very moment you demand to know the details of the process is the moment you declare to the universe that you do not trust. Quantum physics has already shown that there are infinite potential pathways for something to unfold. The unified field contains variables your rational mind cannot even imagine. When you try to control the how, you reduce infinite possibilities to a single limited route, usually the hardest one. It's like trying to teach the river the way to the sea. It already knows. The natural flow of water will find its way, no matter how many obstacles appear. Your role is not to dictate the course, but to trust the current. The error of how is living as if you must design the details of the miracle. And miracles do not fit into spreadsheets. They happen through the unexpected route, the improbable coincidence, the encounter that looked accidental but was aligned all along. When you release the how, you free the field to work, and what once seemed impossible begins to align before your eyes. Not because you calculated, but because you trusted. After understanding that the universe responds to what you are, that your frequency shapes reality, that attention waters seeds, that faith sustains the invisible, and that how is a trap, only one step remains: surrender. Surrender is not giving up. It is not passivity. It is not crossing your arms and waiting. To surrender is to trust so deeply that your mind no longer needs to supervise the process. It is allowing the quantum field to do what only it can do: orchestrate infinite variables until the result appears. Surrender is the turning point. Up until now, you have built the vibration internally, aligned desire, sustained faith. But if you keep trying to control, you block the flow. The river doesn't need your force to reach the sea. It only needs you not to build dams along the way. Mystics call this faith. Scientists like Joe Dispenza call it coherence. Ancient masters called it trust in the Tao. Different names, but the essence is the same: releasing control and aligning with the intelligent flow of the universe. And here lies the paradox. When you surrender, you receive. Because only in surrender does the frequency become pure, stable, consistent, and the field recognizes that purity as permission to materialize. Therefore, total surrender is not the end of the process. It is the beginning of conscious manifestation. Now you know the universe does not fail. It only reflects what you are. We've seen that the greatest mistake is believing life happens outside, when in fact it begins within. We've explored the science of frequency, the power of attention, the strength of faith, the technique of the observer, and the secret of surrender. The next step is in your hands. You can go back to routine and let everything remain as it always has been, or you can choose to apply these codes and allow your reality to transform. The choice is yours. Here's a simple practice. Before going to sleep, replay in your mind the scene of the life you wish to live. Feel it as if it is already happening. Breathe into that state. Imprint that image within. And when you wake up, keep your attention on that frame, without worrying about how. Just trust. And to seal this commitment with yourself and with the field, I want you to write in the comments a mantra exclusive to our community. I surrender, I trust, I receive. Write it now, because when you declare, you vibrate. And when you vibrate, the field responds. If this content spoke to you, like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel. Here, you are not just consuming information. You're becoming part of a consciousness movement that grows every day. Your new reality begins now.